Hello and welcome back. This is another fourth and fifth grade multiplication video where we're going to be working with multiplication factors. Okay, so before we start practicing this, let's talk about what multiplication factors are. So this is kind of a way that I remembered it. I remembered that factor times factor equals multiple. Okay, so factors are the numbers we multiply together to get multiples, or what we get when we multiply numbers. But the important thing is that factors are the numbers that we multiply to get a certain number. So if we're looking for the factors of 6, like this problem is asking us, we want to think of all the things that we can multiply together to get 6. So it's easier to think of them in pairs that go together. So I know that the first pair of factors that pops into my mind when I look at 6 is 2 times 3. Okay, those are the first ones that pop into my head. But I do have another option. I could always do 1 times 6. I'm going to make this a little bit darker so it's easier to see. There we go. 2 times 3 or 1 times 6. Now, yes, because multiplication, you can flip things around and get the same answer. You could also do 3 times 2 and 1 times 6, and 6 times 1. But we don't need to list those factors twice. As long as it's listed once, it's fine. So if I'm being asked what are the factors of 6, maybe I start by listing out these factor pairs like this, and then I come back up here and I just kind of write them in a list. So I would write 1, 2, 3, and 6. And then some teachers want them in order from least to greatest, and for some it doesn't really matter. But this is kind of how you would report back or submit your answer for this. What are the factors of 6? Well, 1, 2, 3, and 6 are all numbers that can be multiplied to get 6. Okay, here's our next one. Which of these numbers are factors of 21? Now, in this one, we get some multiple choices that we can choose from. So I'm going to start by kind of making a list of factor pairs for 21, and then I'll see if any of these choices match up. So any number has the factor pair of 1 and the number itself. All numbers do that. So I can always start with 1 times 21. Now, the next thing I might think of is 2. Can I multiply 2 times something and get 21? And I probably can't. And the reason I know that I can't is because if that were true, 21 would be an even number. So all even numbers have 2 as a factor. 21 is not an even number, so it should not have 2 as a factor. But I do know that I can do 3 times 7. Okay, so I know that that works. 4 doesn't work, 5 doesn't work, 6 doesn't work, and then we're right back to 7. So the factors of 21 would be 1, 3, 7, and 21. So let's see, 5 doesn't work, 2 doesn't work, 8 doesn't work, but 3 does. So from this list of choices over here, 3 is the only one from the list that is a factor of 21. Okay, here is our next one. Which numbers from this list are factors of 35? So let's start by listing some factors of 35. I know that I can do 1 times 35. I also know that 2 doesn't work because, again, 35 is not an even number. 3 doesn't work because if I do, and here's a little trick for 3, if I add the digits together, 3 plus 5, I get 8. 8 cannot be divided by 3, so 3 is not a factor. So if you're not sure about that rule, look it up. It's a good rule. Let's see. So 4 doesn't work. I think 5 will work. 5 times 7. I don't think 6 works. And then if I went back to 7, I'd be looped right back around to where I started. So 8, no. 5, yes. 7, yes. 3, no. So from this list, 5 and 7 are the factors of 35. Okay, here's our next one. Which numbers are factors of 12? It's from this list. So let's start by making a list of the factors of 12. Like we've talked about, 1 times 12 will work because 1 times the number itself will always work. In this case, 12 is an even number, so I know 2 will work, and that would be 2 times 6. If I add 1 plus 2, I get 3, and 3 can be divided by 3, so I know 3 is a factor. That would be 3 times 4. And then I can stop there because my next number to try would be 4. We already know 4 works. It's kind of like a little loop if you imagine it. So let's go back to the list. 8 does not work. 9 is not on that list. 2 is, but 5 is not. So out of this list over to the left, the only factor there that is a factor of 12 would be 2. Okay, here is our last example for today's video. We're going to find the factors from this list of 51. Now, 51 is kind of bigger and it's kind of an odd number for us to be thinking about. So I think I'm going to use a different method than making a list of factors. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find what times what equals 51, but I'm going to do it from the list. So I'm going to take the first choice they gave us, which is 17. Now, I have no idea if I can multiply 17 and get 51. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start add up. I might multiply 17 by a number to see if I get around 51. I might add up some 17s to see if I actually end up with 51. So I'm going to start by adding two 17s together, which would be the same as 17 times 2. That's 14. So that's 34. Okay, let's add another 17 to that. That would be 11 and 51. Oh, look at that. I actually did get 51. So it took me 1, 2, 3 17s to get there. So 3 is also a factor of 51. So I can go ahead and circle this one and this one. Okay, now for the next one, for 8, I know my 8 facts are a little bit bigger than my 3 facts, and I know them better than my 17 facts. So maybe I start with 8 times something and see how close I get to 51. So I know that 8 times 5 is 40. So let's do that. Let's put 5 here and put 40 here. Knowing that we're trying to get 51, 8 times 6 is 48. Okay, we're getting closer to 51. And then 8 times 7 is 56. Oh no, we've blown past 51. So that means 8 does not work because in that list of multiplication factors, 51 was not anywhere in there. Now we also know that 1 is always a factor of a number because we can always multiply 1 times that number to get the number. So I'm going to go ahead and circle 1 as a factor as well. So from this list, the numbers 17, 3, and 1 are all factors of 51. All right, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope I see you in another video soon.